Yes, I know. Wind and water, sand and time, live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe and beat this heart of mine. Live and breathe.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. It's perfect balance, right? We greet you tonight in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, all that has come before, all that is here now, and all that is to come. And we are here by divine appointment, knowing that we are here in the right place at the right time. And let's just take a moment in prayer. And we invoke all of the energies of those who have come before, knowing that we stand on their shoulders, and without them, we don't know where we would be. And we are so grateful for all that they have given us, and all that they went through, and all that they have shared, so that we can be here right now in this place. And then we can pass that on to those who come after us. It is such a privilege to be in this place. It is such a privilege to live this life. It is such a privilege to be a part of this holy, holy lineage that transforms lives, brings people into a higher knowledge of themselves and their spirituality. And we say, thank you, God. And now Paula is going to give us a little bit of the history of this ceremony.
Thank you, Deborah. Good evening, beautiful people, and welcome to the Bridge of Light Ancestral Ceremony. Back in 2018, Spiritual Life Center was celebrating its 20th anniversary, and we had many events and services that focused on that milestone throughout the year. Rev Deborah and I were working on our Wow Wednesdays at the time and pondering on what type of special service we'd like to present for the occasion. We began talking about exploring the long line of forward thinkers and philosophers that informed the founders of Spiritual Life Center, Michael and Faith Moran, and our place in that succession and imagining into the future. And right on time, as Spirit so beautifully does, Anne Roach brought me a DVD of the film Coco that she thought I would really like. And the story in that film depicts the tradition of Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. All of the pieces started falling in place for our special service, honoring the ancestors who came before us and lit a path for us to choose on our own spiritual journeys. In the Coco film, there are beautiful bridges of marigolds that the dead pass over to join the land of the living for a brief period of time. That image was the inspiration for naming our service, the Bridge of Light. Certainly, one of our main messages here at SLC is that we are all lights, aspects and expressions of the one divine light. As for our ritual tonight, we are inspired and borrowing from the tradition of Dia de los Muertos. For those who may be unfamiliar, the Day of the Dead is a Mexican holiday where families welcome back the souls of their deceased relatives for a brief reunion that includes food, drink, and celebration. It is a blend of Mesoamerican ritual, European religion, and Spanish culture. And it is celebrated every year from October 31st through November 2nd. According to tradition, the gates of heaven are opened at midnight on October 31st, and the spirits of children can rejoin their families for 24 hours. The spirits of adults can do the same on November 2nd. The roots of Day of the Dead go back some 3,000 years to the rituals honoring the dead in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. The Aztecs and other Nahua people living in what is now central Mexico held a cyclical view of the universe and saw death as an integral, ever-present part of life. Upon dying, a person was believed to travel to Chiconemictlan, the land of the dead. Only after getting through 9 challenging levels, a journey of several years, could the person's soul finally reach Mictlan, the final resting place. In Nahua rituals, family members provided food, water, and tools to the deceased in this difficult journey. This inspired the contemporary Day of the Dead practice, in which people leave food or other offerings on their loved ones' graves or set them out on makeshift altars called ofrendas in their homes. Leaving loved ones' favorite foods and the pungent scent of marigolds are thought to aid the deceased loved one to find their way back to the land of the living for the celebration. In ancient Europe, pagan celebrations of the dead also took place in the fall and consisted of bonfires, dancing, and feasting. Some of these customs survived even after the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, which unofficially adopted them into their celebrations of 2 minor Catholic holidays, All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, celebrated on the first 2 days of November. In medieval Spain, people would bring wine and bread to the graves of their loved ones on All Souls' Day. They would also cover graves with flowers and light candles and illuminate the dead soul's way back to their homes on earth. In the 16th century, Spanish conquistadors brought these traditions with them to the New World, along with a darker view of death influenced by the devastation of the bubonic plague. In the film Coco, the story shows that you are only allowed to cross that bridge when you are remembered in the land of the living, and when you are, your way is illuminated. These photos on the altar tonight of the ancestors of New Thought and the Unity Movement are our way of remembering the work of these brilliant souls who forged the way for us to take up the torch and shine our lights brilliantly in the world. We all must sense the world is in great need of that at this time. So may this evening inspire you and shine on. Rev Deborah will share with us some amazing stories and historical insights into these amazing souls before tonight and always. At this time, if you have brought any photos of your loved ones, and you may come and place them on the altar if you'd like, and there will be a period of time later in the service to return to the altar and gaze on it and reflect on the beauty of our past and our future. Rev Deb? Ra?
So go ahead and bring up your... Well, welcome to History 101. We've got the assignment of covering about 120 years of New Thought in 20 minutes. So if you're a note taker, I suggest you write fast. No, I'm kidding. What I did was, of course, pick out the things that I thought might be relevant to us here at SLC. I started out with a definition, and if you don't understand this definition of New Thought, don't worry about it much, because I kind of don't either. Okay, so it is a spirituality with a belief system of oneness, flow, and manifestation, and is articulated by the construct of mind, idea, and expression that addresses the needs of the head, the heart, and the body, and is based on the rich traditions of philosophy, the teachings of Jesus, and our understanding of the mind-body connection. So is that good? Now, in looking at this, this is pretty cerebral, but I thought there's some good information here. Now, like, there's three distinct religious forces in the United States. One of them is the Protestant evangelical tradition that stresses separation from spiritual power. We get a lot of people coming through here because that doesn't work for them. The mainstream Christian, which stresses grace through communal ceremony, and the metaphysical teaching, which is our teaching, that emphasizes the human mind and the connection or oneness, and that is called oneness. We also have the recognition that the mind serves as an energetic conduit between spiritual and the physical world, and that's called flow. And then the practical focus on health and healing through a correspondence between human consciousness and the material world, we call that manifestation. So looking at our antecedents, you might be surprised to find out and learn that metaphysics actually starts with Greek philosophy and Plato. It's evolved into a construct known as mind, idea, expression. And some of the people who furthered that idea are Meister Eckhart, Emanuel Swedenborg, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Swedenborg is actually more in the direct line of the people I'm going to be talking about. That was like in the 1700s. The pioneers of New Thought are the people with whom we probably have the closest relationship at this point, besides those of us who are here now. In the late 19th century, there was this confluence of metaphysics and mysticism and mind cure. Around the 1880s, 1870s, all of a sudden it just started exploding everywhere. People were sort of coming out of the spiritual woodwork, so to speak. And it's like the oneness flow manifestation concept. This time had just come. And the list of pioneers in this group: Phineas P. Quimby, Warren Felt Evans, Julius Annetta and Horatio Dresser. They were a really big deal. Mary Baker Eddy, Christian Science. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is one of our direct connections. Thomas Troward, who was in England. Most of these people were in the United States, by the way. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Now, some of you, she was a poet, and some of you may be familiar with seeing her poetry in the Unity publications. Emmett Fox, and of course, Eric Butterworth. For our lineage, I'm going to mostly talk about Quimby, Mary Baker Eddy, and Emma Curtis Hopkins, because that's how we got here. Phineas P. Quimby is sometimes called the father of New Thought, because through his use of mesmerism, which we now call hypnosis, he started to discover that the mind was very powerful and that people were being healed, not because of any medication that they took, but because through his work with them, the disease dissolved and healings would occur. And he wrote, "Disease is what follows an opinion. It is made up of mind diverted by error, and truth is the destruction of this opinion." Now, obviously, the language is old, but this is exactly what we talk about today. Now, Mary Baker Eddy really struggled with her health. She was really ill, and so she consulted Quimby. Now, there was a period of time where she wouldn't admit that, but she did. She studied with him, and she stayed with him for several years, and then he died in 1886, and not too long after that, she became ill. And there she was on her own, and she said she sat down with her Bible, and she prayed, and she got quiet, and she was healed. And then she developed Christian Science out of that. So that's how that came to be. And then there's Emma Curtis Hopkins. Emma Curtis Hopkins was an extremely intelligent, well-educated woman for her time. This was in the 1880s, and she was also ill. And she went to Mary Baker Eddy for help. And she was helped tremendously, and she started working with Mary Baker Eddy, and she edited the Christian Science, I can't remember, it wasn't the Monitor, they called it the Journal, the Christian Science Journal, for several years. But Emma was a curious woman. She was intelligent. She started reading other metaphysical materials, and Mary Baker Eddy wasn't having any of that. Mary Baker Eddy was not what you would call flexible. So Emma quietly left. Now, a lot of what I'm telling you, if you go out online, and of course I got almost all of this online, you're going to find slightly different versions of things. The one that I was reading the other day said that Mary Baker Eddy fired Emma. And others say that Emma just very quietly left. The thing is, Emma Curtis Hopkins never talked about Mary Baker Eddy. She just went off and did her own thing. She went to Chicago in 1887 and opened the Emma Curtis Hopkins College of Metaphysical Science. And she started training people. Now, she broke with traditional theology in a lot of ways. One of the most important, of course, is that she was teaching that we are not sinners and that love is the path to health and spiritual wholeness. And another way she broke tradition was by assigning women a prominent place as ordained pastors. And she also maintained that the third aspect of the Trinity was Holy Mother or the Comforter. And at the first graduation ceremony for that school, of the 22 students, 20 of them were women. And then Emma had a long and productive healing and teaching practice. She traveled all over, she taught, and she just was like everywhere. And she is often called the mother of New Thought because she basically taught everybody who started a New Thought organization that we know today. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, Emily Cady, Melinda E. Kramer, who was a co-founder of Divine Science, Ella Wheeler Wilcox, the New Thought poet, Ernest Holmes, who founded Religious Science, which we now know as the Centers for Creative Living. Now, Mr. Holmes came along later, like in the 20s, and Emma was getting along in years at that point, and she didn't want to teach anybody else. She told him no. She told him no. And she told him no, and finally she said yes. And so he was her last student. And he took, of course, what he learned from her and created his own take on what she had been teaching him. But we come from the line of the Fillmores. So what about the Fillmores? Well, it's a simple story. Myrtle Fillmore faced a pretty serious illness. Tuberculosis was quite rampant in those days, in the late, I think this is the 1880s. And she, went to lectures a lot because that was like the entertainment of the day. Let's all go out for lecture after dinner. And she went to a lecture, and they'd been going for a while, and she kept hearing this idea that God's inside. And at some point, she says she just got it. She said, if God is inside me, I can't be sick. And she was healed. Now, this is a big deal because 2 of her family members had died from tuberculosis, and she sort of just expected that was what was going to happen to her. And so it was an amazing thing. And so then the Fillmores started inviting people just to their home for prayer and for healing work. Just very quietly, very simply. And then at some point, they went to study with Emma Curtis Hopkins. And they were ordained, one of them in 1890 and 1891, and the material didn't specify which, and it doesn't really matter. But over the next 10 years came the Society of Silent Help, which eventually became Silent Unity, Unity Magazine, We Wisdom, Lessons in Truth with Emily Cady, who also studied with Emma Curtis Hopkins. And then in 1914, they incorporated as Unity School of Christianity. These people were just on it. And one of the best quotes, the Fillmores themselves were amazing people. They were both mystics, but one of the best quotes I found is a reference to Charles. It said, perhaps it was because he himself needed physical help so much that he was not content with a religion that taught him to endure his pain. And in his search, he became a healer. Now, as we see, the Fillmores were aligned with Emma Curtis Hopkins in breaking with traditional Christianity. They still maintained much of the teachings of Jesus, but they were not telling you that you are going to all of those things that some of those other religions tell us. They didn't do that. They said that God is within us. They worked together to build unity. But it was Myrtle Fillmore who first accepted the idea of divine healing. It was Charles Fillmore who edited the first magazine. It was Myrtle Fillmore who first led Silent Unity. It was Charles Fillmore who named the work Unity and developed it into the worldwide organization it is today. It was Myrtle Fillmore who led the people in meditation and prayer. It was Charles Fillmore who made speeches and wrote books. They worked together as heart and head worked together. And from their united efforts grew the great movement that we now know as Unity. If Mrs. Fillmore supplied the original impetus, it was her husband, Charles, who supplied the greater part of the energy to carry it forward out into the world. And one last really important part about the Fillmores and Unity is that they worked from a base of Christianity. They were always pushing against those traditional constraints. Like Emma Curtis Hopkins, their studies included a deep exploration of Eastern religions. And you might notice if you look at the 12 powers, and you look at the book, The 12 Powers of Man, there's a chart in there. And all of the 12 powers correlate to a physical place in the body, which is very, very much like the Eastern chakra system or energy center system. So they took wherever they could to bring this all into one beautiful, wonderful teaching. And Charles in particular never, ever wanted to be pinned down to a rigid, narrow philosophy. He felt that we need to be open to the influence of spirit, period. He was asked one time to create a statement of faith, and he kept avoiding it, and he kept avoiding it, and finally someone set him down and said, "You have to do it." And he says, "Okay, but I reserve the right to change it this afternoon." He wasn't going to get stuck in any one box because that's not how he saw spirituality. Now, I could go on and on forever about how the students of the Fillmores moved metaphysics forward. The likes of Emily Cady, Eric Butterworth, Reverend Johnny Coleman, Reverend Barbara King, and others came along and they either started new communities or they spread the message to the far corners. Mystics, one and all. We don't talk about it a lot in that respect, but this is a mystical teaching that we have here. All of them were groundbreakers in their time, and there are way, way too many to name, but there are two that most of you are probably familiar with. That would be Reverend Faith and Reverend Michael Moran. Now, the Morans had a dream. That dream was to create an interfaith ministry where everyone was welcome, no matter what their religion or faith system was. They wanted to bring the different ways of communion with the divine together to dissolve that idea of separation. And so, in November of 2000, Spiritual Life Center was born. In the year 2000, the idea of an interfaith church was groundbreaking. It was the cutting edge. And I understand that they were instrumental in bringing different faith communities in Sacramento together in all kinds of wonderful ways. And we have several community members who were called to be ordained as interfaith ministers. SLC soon became a place where the separation of religions dissolved and people could come together as who they really were. And that continues, and that is the Moran's legacy. In 2008, Reverend Faith made her transition, and then in 2012, Reverend Michael retired. So here we are at the now. Whew. Reverend James Trapp came to us in October of 2012. And he came with a more of a unity-centric message, and at first it felt very different to some people. But as he told me, he has always followed what he believes to be the true message of unity. Unity is trans-denominational. It always has been. Unity is welcoming to anyone at any level of spiritual development. Unity attracts people from all walks of life. And he points out that unity was never meant to be a religious institution. That was never the Fillmores' intention. In fact, they were a little astounded as they watched this whole thing kind of grow up and build up around them. They never wanted a church. That wasn't what they were trying to do. But you know what happens is people get an idea and they like it, and then, oh, well, you think like I do, and so let's go hang out together. Well, let's go hang out over here instead of going to that church on Sunday, and it just became something. And thank God it did. And Reverend James' philosophy is that no matter what you believe, SLC is here to boost you on your own spiritual path. We are here to help you expand your consciousness in your unique way. And Reverend James has built a staff dedicated to high spiritual principles and who work to fulfill our mission, supporting people as they transform their lives. We are a vibrant, enthusiastic, and active community. So what does the future hold for SLC? How do we go beyond? We have then, we have now, then we have beyond. I asked Reverend James how he sees the future, because there's actually two answers to this question. So I asked him how he sees the future, and he said that his vision, the vision he sees for SLC, is to grow beyond the early stages of the unity teaching which taught individual growth. Obviously, there will always be that component of our mission. But Reverend James believes that it is time for us now to mature and look beyond our individualness and into how we can heal the planet, bring harmony and transformation to the whole for the common good. And how will this happen? Well, for now, we are here. All of us are here. This is what's now. As to the future, we look to our young people, like Cameron back there, who are active now, and perhaps by becoming trans-denominational in a big, obvious way and focusing on spirituality more than religion, more and more young people will be attracted to us, and they will come to fill our shoes when it is time. We don't know who that will be. We don't know what that will be. What we do know is that this is a wonderful adventure, and I personally can't wait to see how it unfolds. I do know that if we keep the high watch now and hold our vision, those who follow will be absolutely amazing, because that's the only thing we can attract is amazing. So it is tonight that we honor those who have gone before us, those who are here now, all of us, and those who are on their way. And so in the name of the Holy Spirit, I give thanks for then, now, and beyond, knowing that divine order and divine love guides each of us in all ways. And so it is. So as we transition into the next segment of the service, we will take the offering first, and then we'll let the music lead us into meditation. During that time, feel free to come up to the altar and engage with the energy and gratitude for those who came before, for those who are here now, and for those to come. And be sure to pick up one of the quotes from our ancestors in the basket. So let us do our offering blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
to your ongoing, the truth of your unknowing, and the key to your return. Yeah, 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 yeah. Circle of return, circle of return.
Let's take a nice deep breath. Allowing our energy to go into our heart center. And to feel the love of those who have passed, who are on their next assignments, who come back to visit. And feel the love and the gratitude that they have for you as you carry on. And feel the love and the gratitude that you have for them for having given you what you have. And feel the gratitude for what is to come. That we face the future with courage and love and joy, knowing that only the highest and best to come to us as we offer our highest and best. And so we give thanks for this ceremony. We give thanks for this gathering. We give thanks for the high energy that pulses in and through each one of us, knowing that we are each a loving, perfect expression of the One. And so it is. It's an honor to be here with you at SLC. It's an honor to work with Reverend James. It is an honor to be part of this amazing community. And I know that we're going somewhere. And wherever it is, it's going to be so cool. Good night, and may the joys of the world go with you.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within
Thank you. Thank you for being here.